Before dying, 3 disciples experienced the kingdom of heaven, and they had no idea what they saw. This is Pastor Travis with the City of Seekers. Welcome. Suspense. In Luke chapter 9, Jesus tells his disciples, "I tell you most certainly, some standing here will not experience death before they see the kingdom of God." If somebody I trusted told me that, I wouldn't sleep. But when Peter, James, and John see the kingdom for themselves, they come off of the mountain and they kept silent and told no one anything of what they had seen at that time. Why not? Sure, Jesus told them not to, but what was the concern? What kind of fear would be so great that it would cause them to stay silent about something this incredible? Let's get into the passage. Jesus said, "I tell you most certainly, there are some standing here who will not experience death before they see the kingdom of God." Now, about 8 days after saying these things, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John and went up the mountain to pray. So the stated goal was to pray. Continuing, as Jesus was praying, well, wait, where's Peter, James, and John? It turns out that Peter, James, and John were praying a lot like I studied in high school, with my eyes closed. Verse 32, now Peter and the others were quite sleepy. That's a kind way of saying that they were resting their eyes. As Jesus was praying, the appearance of his face was transformed and his clothes became very bright, a brilliant white. Then 2 men, Moses and Elijah, began talking with him. They appeared in glorious splendor. This is so easy to miss. A comparison is being made between Jesus, Moses, and Elijah through the entire passage. Jesus is described as very bright, a brilliant white. In the Greek, it's better stated as like a flash of lightning. Whereas Moses and Elijah appear in glorious splendor. Bright, not as bright as Jesus. They spoke to Jesus about his departure that he was about to carry out at Jerusalem. The word for departure here is better translated as Exodus. That should ring a bell. They spoke to Jesus about the Exodus he was about to carry out. Moses and Elijah would know something about Exodusing. Exodus, of course, means departure, and they had departure stories of their own. Moses departed Egypt, aimed for the promised land. He died and never entered. Elijah, on the other hand, departed earth and entered heaven, the ultimate promised land, but didn't die. Jesus' story is a greater story as a combination of the 2 lesser stories. Jesus' story would be one where he would die and make it to the promised land. So again, there are 2 lesser stories that supported this greater story. Now, Peter and those with him were quite sleepy. But as they became fully awake, they saw his glory, Jesus' glory, and the 2 standing with him. Again, listen to how the appearance of these 3 men are described. The disciples saw Jesus' glory and the other 2 men standing with him. The glory of Jesus is noted, not the glory of the other 2. A comparison is being made. Then as the men were starting to leave, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is good for us to be here." And Jesus had to be thinking, I know, I brought you. Let us make 3 tents, 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. not knowing what he was saying. You gotta love Peter. He says the quiet part out loud over and over again. First, to address a modern interpretation problem, Peter is not suggesting that they all camp out together. There are 6 of them there. He suggested 3 tents. He is not suggesting the buddy system here. However, if a buddy system did unfold, I'm guessing that Peter would announce, "I get Moses." And therein lies a part of the problem. Peter wanted to prolong the time that he had with Moses and Elijah when he was already with Jesus. I couldn't imagine how excited I would be if I were Peter. I mean, these were the legends of the faith. Peter was raised hearing about these men from everyone in his community. He had to have been starstruck. He wanted more time with them, but he was leaving with Jesus. This is a turning back moment, if you will, for Peter. Instead of focusing on the Son of Man, the Messiah, Jesus, who was right there in front of him, he wanted more time with Moses and Elijah. Further, without getting into details that would complicate things, when Peter suggested 3 tents, he was suggesting that they build 3 places of honor as if to elevate Jesus to the level of Moses and Elijah. In both cases, he missed a critical observation, a point God was about ready to make really clear. As Peter was saying this, a cloud came and overshadowed them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. Then a voice came from the cloud saying, "This is my son, my chosen one. Listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. I used to read these words with a certain emphasis. I used to read them this way: "This is my son, listen to him." Now, though, I read it this way: "This is my son, listen to him." Listen to him above Moses. Listen to him above Elijah, above the prophets. Listen to him. He is in the highest position. He is brighter. He is my chosen one. He is my son. He is at the very top. The king of the kingdom of heaven. Jesus is the one. Listen to him. When the cloud faded, God removed the distractions. He removed the competition. He removed Moses and Elijah, and only Jesus remained. It was a great visual aid, fitting for the message. Continuing the Exodus theme, it's as if the cloud that led God's people through the wilderness spoke and handed leadership off to Jesus for Peter, James, and John to see. When they came off the mountain, they kept silent and told no one anything of what they had seen. What would stop them from talking about this, something this amazing? Why would Jesus tell them not to say anything? Well, how about this? If the people at that time heard the disciples announced that Jesus was greater than Moses and Elijah, they would see it as blasphemy, and I would like to suggest they would have attempted to kill him immediately. It wasn't time for that. The disciples held on to that insight, that experience, like some great secret that, if leaked, would destroy everything. These 3 didn't say anything about Moses, about Elijah, about seeing the kingdom of God. Instead, they let Jesus handle the details of that timeline. The lesson here is multifold. It's incredibly easy to take the primary thing, the thing that is the brightest, the thing that should be elevated to the highest position, the thing that should be honored, the thing that should be worshiped, and accidentally replace it with something that glows. What starts as providing for a family can easily turn into career first. What starts as spreading the gospel could turn into church growth first. Culture could come before truth, feelings over facts, Moses over Jesus, Elijah over Jesus. Every mistake is like some game of sleight of hand where one thing gets conflated with another and then ultimately replaced, only for somebody to wake up to the devastating realization that the most important thing was somehow pushed aside and replaced by something else. The entirety of this passage is a comparison between competing forces for the place of primacy in the life of the disciples, Moses and Elijah versus Jesus. On one hand, who can blame Peter? On the other hand, isn't that exactly why we need this lesson? May we keep Jesus in his rightful position at the very top, the primary position of our lives. Thank you all for joining me here. Again, I'm Pastor Travis with the City of Seekers. Please like, share, comment. All of that helps to promote the channel, and I am greatly appreciative of it. God bless.